Is 2026 going to be known as the John Mateer Redemption Tour, or will it just be another Oklahoma team that perhaps makes the college football playoff and doesn't win a game? If John Mateer has anything to say about it, and I believe him, this season will be different because of how he's approached it in the offseason. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what Jim Nagy had to say about what NFL general managers said about John Mateer playing through injury, and whether or not it even crossed his mind that maybe he's gone into the NFL draft past April. All that's coming up after the bumper. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. If you're into that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, answer the question in the comments below. What do you expect from John Mateer in 2026? So just yesterday, I put up my list of the top 5 quarterbacks in the SEC, and I did not list John Mateer among them, based on what we saw from him last season and what we saw from his counterparts last season and what we know about this SEC. I'm going to add in here that I expected John Mateer would be better than he was. I expected a 3,000-yard passer and perhaps a 1,000-yard rusher, given that he rushed for 826 yards at Washington State and threw for 3,100 yards before he got there. Now, the numbers are 2,885 yards, 14 TDs to 11 picks, 431 yards on the ground, not sack adjusted, and 8 rushing TDs. First third of the season, quarter of the season, I would say John Mateer looked lights out. He looked very much like a Heisman Trophy caliber player. The way he played against Illinois State is Illinois State, but the way he played against Michigan, he won that game on his arm and on his legs. He brought Oklahoma back to win against an Auburn team that we thought was good at the time, turned out to not be great at the time, also injured himself, broke his thumb. And in breaking his thumb, we got to see what Mateer's like playing through injury. We also got to see just how deep the well is at Oklahoma for the second year in a row with Michael Hawkins. The OU team that we saw through the middle of the season actually turned out to be the worst version of them. They finished strong in November. They went to Tuscaloosa. They got the win. That win probably put them in the college football playoff, despite losing to Texas. But again, Oklahoma became one of the first teams in this age of college football to earn a home game in the college football playoff, went up by 2 scores, and then blew it, in large part because John Mateer played crappy football, even throwing a pick 6 where he said he got fooled. And going into this season, I was wondering how he would react, because there is a loud contingent of the OU fan base that believes this is the second coming of Baker Mayfield. Maybe. And you know what? If you're judging him on what Oklahoma did throughout the season, he's right there. He made the college football playoff. They won 10 games or more. They also didn't win one, right? Like that's the task for Oklahoma. It's not to make the college football playoff. It's to win a game in it and be competitive enough to play for a national championship. And right now, Oklahoma does not feel like a team that can go beat Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss in a national championship fight, let alone Indiana, right? We're going to find out a lot when Oklahoma goes to Michigan to play against Ann Arbor. But if you've been looking at the schedule, you'll see there's only one real win on that you can mark down. It's just UTEP to open the season. New Mexico is a good football team. And those of you that didn't watch Jason X's team last year are in for a rude awakening. I would not be shocked to find out that game tests Oklahoma. That Kentucky team is not Mark Stoops' team, in case you forgot. It's Will Stein's team. And that dude been outstanding as a play caller at Oregon. We're going to see what kind of a head coach he can be. And it can keep going from there. Like, the SEC is a difficult place to play football. So John Mateer had an opportunity to go into the NFL draft. He would not have been a day one pick. And given what we've seen on tape, I still think he plays the game like a high school shortstop playing quarterback, or like the most athletic player on your team. Back when we played Pee Wee or even in high school, you could do that and you would win a bunch of games. You could even win a state championship if you had a guy that was that talented. But in the SEC, where you got to have it up and down the board, particularly on the offensive line, it's a different task. But we learn a little bit more about John Mateer and his character in a really good series at Sooner Scoop by George Stoya, in that he understands that he left a lot out on the table. He also says that he just spends most of his time thinking about Texas and Alabama, which that nails it. Texas was a game where John Mateer played some of his worst football, and Oklahoma really wanted to win that game going away. That OU made the college football playoff and Texas did not, only brings but a little respite, because you really do want to beat Texas every year, just as Texas really wants to beat Oklahoma every year. And then Alabama, that game was won until such a time as John Mateer and that offense forgot how to move the football and started turning the ball over in inexplicable fashion in a game that we all thought they were going to win. May not have been beating Indiana in the Rose Bowl, but thought they were going to win that game. So what did Mateer think about perhaps entering the NFL draft? Well, what he said was, that never crossed Coach Venable's desk, because it was like, no, I want to come back. I love this school. I love this place. And I need to get better before I take the next step. And I was okay with that, because this is Oklahoma. You only get so many opportunities to play at Oklahoma. And I wanted another year of it. It's great. The question for me is, does Oklahoma want another year of John Mateer if it looks like last year? Right? Certainly, Mateer is going to be playing for his NFL future this season. So perhaps, right? And playing for your NFL future is a bit different than knowing you got another year of eligibility, right? So the way that NFL teams look at John Mateer also factors into this. And Jim Nagy, who I think has the best relationship with the NFL of any general manager in college football, heard what he needed to hear from GMs. Again, talking to Sooner Scoop, he said, an NFL GM told me this offseason that John, playing through that injury, told their team everything they needed to know about the type of guy he is, toughness factor and everything. They said, we'll wait till next year to evaluate the tape, because it made such a tough eval when you're watching a quarterback with a broken thumb, right? I think that that's fair to him. And I think that that's really kind of cool. I don't know that I would do that. I would want to see the leap from year to year, but there's nothing to say that he can't make the leap that Jaden Daniels made, right? Because he's got the tools to do it. But I was really curious what Venables thought about all of this and how he has looked at John Mateer this offseason. A guy that is going to be an absolute monster in the weight room at quarterback is always going to be a fan favorite. Jalen Hurts was a monster in the weight room. And then, before Mateer went for front squat reps, he hit the smelling salts and then threw it at the camera, which great cinema. But again, hitting front squats is not being more accurate when you throw the football, and that's what I'm looking for. But what Venables said about this was, I think, just what you would expect from any player that's committed and obsessed with collegiate sport, talking about his maturity. The maturation process is going to be there where you get better, you learn, you grow, you improve, you develop. This is a game that typically the more you play, the better you get. The more you practice, the better you get. There are lots of layers of development, mentally, physically, technically. And you're seeing an improved version of him in all those areas. I don't doubt that, not for 1 minute. I just wonder how much development we are going to see and whether or not that development hits the standard of winning the SEC championship. That is also a need for Oklahoma. OU wanted to move the SEC. It's a tough league. It's not like winning 10, 11, 12 games in the Big 12 every year. Everybody in that league is capable of beating you, even if you got a pretty damn good roster. But if nothing else, as an OU fan, you got to love that this guy wants the job. He wants the challenge, and he understands that he did not hit the standard last year. That counts for something. Just don't know that it counts for making the college football playoff and finally winning a game.